Oh, you wanna fight? You wanna fight?
No!
In the animal meta, the goat build is one of those safe picks that's anything but ordinary. They have an extensive distribution, appearing everywhere from sheer mountain cliffs to dry grasslands and even semi-desert regions. Goats usually operate in herds with a flexible social structure that makes them highly adaptable to changing environments. In terms of stats, goats fall into the mid-size range, standing around 2 to 3 feet tall and weighing anywhere from 40 to over 100 pounds, depending on the species and biome. However, they don't boast heavy armor or massive size like some other herbivore builds. They make up for it with remarkable endurance and mobility. Most of their gameplay revolves around foraging, grazing on grass, leaves, and even tough shrubs or herbs that many other builds ignore. A defining visual trait is their curved horns, which serve both as defensive tools and as weapons in dominance battles within the group. It's this combination of flexibility, adaptability, and herd-based strategy that has cemented the goat as a formidable survivor in the natural meta. In terms of base stats, the goat doesn't reach the monster tier levels of some top herbivores, but it comes with a highly balanced stat line leaning toward mobility and endurance. HP is mid-range, but thanks to a compact yet durable frame, goats can withstand harsh environments and minor injuries that would sideline many other builds. Attack isn't high, but their curved horns are a reliable weapon, useful both for fending off small predators and for PvP dominance matches within the herd. Defense lacks heavy armor, but quick reflexes and strong, evasive movement allow goats to avoid damage rather than soak it. Speed is one of their standout stats among mid-sized herbivores. Goats can burst forward on flat terrain and, more importantly, climb steep surfaces where most predators simply can't follow. Stealth is basically non-existent. Goats operate in open areas and are easy to spot, but their advantage lies in quick retreats and their ability to escape thanks to mobility. With this balanced stat line, the goat doesn't need massive DPS to be a serious contender. Through endurance, agility, and herd play, goats have carved out a stable niche in mountain and grassland meta, surviving for thousands of years without ever needing a major buff. A frustratingly resilient survivor for any predator that dares to engage. When your strongest stat is mobility, which build you have to choose is the goat. This build doesn't rely on brute force or flashy one-shots because its moveset is designed entirely around survivability and agility in harsh terrain. Core skill, wall climb mastery, lets the goat scale near vertical cliffs, turning entire mountain maps into safe zones where most predators can't follow. Next is sure-footed leap, a signature ability. It doesn't deal damage, but grants pinpoint accuracy when jumping across ravines, allowing goats to completely outplay ambush attempts. On top of that, the goat unlocks herd tactics, a passive that buffs awareness when traveling in groups, making stealth engagements from predators far less effective. In herd PvP, goats use horn clash, powerful headbutts that serve both to settle dominance disputes and to fend off smaller opponents. And finally, the highlight, endurance stamina, enabling goats to operate continuously in tough environments, from arid plains to steep mountains, without taking heavy debuffs. The result? The goat's moveset isn't about overwhelming predators with raw power, but about combat avoidance, escape highlights, and terrain exploitation. It proves one thing: you don't need top DPS or tank stats. With the right map and unmatched mobility, you can be one of the hardest survivors to counter in the entire natural meta. While many other herbivore builds rely on sheer size or passive herd defense, the goat takes a completely different approach. Its strength doesn't come from brute force, but from superior mobility combined with remarkable environmental adaptability. With a compact yet durable frame and high endurance stats, the goat has maintained a stable position in both mountain and grassland metas. It doesn't need venom, armor, or massive DPS. With precise climbing and evasive reflexes, the goat can outplay most melee predators. Its biggest advantage is terrain control. On steep maps, just a few jumps are enough to make predators lose all chances of a successful engagement. This is further buffed by herd tactics, where group movement raises awareness stats and greatly reduces the risk of ambush. Thanks to this playstyle, goats rarely get cornered, and even apex predators like big cats will often give up once the chase drags into rough terrain. On top of that, the goat has strong spatial memory, allowing it to pick optimal escape routes and access food sources that many other builds can't reach. The result is that the goat isn't just a resilient survivor build, but proof that in the natural meta, mobility plus adaptability can provide a more sustainable advantage than brute force or stealth ever could. Put simply, the goat is the true king of the mountain biome, a build that makes predators think twice before pressing the engage button. Despite its impressive mobility and adaptability, the goat build comes with a fair share of weaknesses in the meta. First off, its damage output is extremely limited. Those curved horns may work in PvP skirmishes or against small predators, but they're nowhere near enough to stand up to an apex predator. In a 1v1 cornered fight, goat almost always loses because it lacks both DPS and a reliable finisher move. Next, its defense stat is paper thin. No thick hide, no armor plating, meaning a single direct bite can often be fatal. Survival here relies heavily on avoiding combat, not soaking damage like true tank builds. On top of that, goat has basically zero stealth, usually roaming in open terrain with no natural camouflage, making it easy for predators to spot them from a distance. And finally, baby goats represent one of the weakest life stages in the entire mammal class. With low stats across the board, they're easy prey for mid-tier predators, like foxes, jackals, or raptors. All of this shows that while the goat build is a master at surviving harsh environments, once dragged into direct combat, its weaknesses become painfully obvious, and out-trading stronger predators is nearly impossible. Overall, the goat is one of the most consistently solid builds in the mountain forest meta. It's not a DPS power, nor is it a heavy tank. Instead, goat invests entirely into mobility and adaptability, and that alone has been enough to secure its place as one of the most reliable survivor tier builds. With near cheat code level climbing ability and insane balance, goats unlock terrain that most predators can't even load into. Sheer cliffs and vertical ridges basically function as safe zones exclusive to this build, forcing most predators to disengage before the fight even starts. On top of that, the goat benefits from a fairly cohesive herd structure. A group of goats operates like a multi-role party. Scouts for lookout, horns as makeshift tanks in PvP, and sheer numbers to prevent being singled out. As a result, goats rarely get focused down, especially when sticking to their home terrain advantage. The most impressive part? Goats don't rely on venom, stealth, or massive body size. With nothing but extreme mobility plus durable adaptability plus flexible teamwork, they've maintained top-tier status in some of the harshest biomes on Earth, from dry savannas to snowy high-altitude maps. With a balanced stat line and a playstyle built around terrain control, goat easily deserves an A-tier ranking and could even make a case for S-tier among herbivore builds. Even though the goat build excels at mobility and absolutely dominates rocky terrain, there are still some brutal counterpicks in the meta. Eagle is a hard counter to goats, especially during the early game. With aerial dominance, it can circle safely out of reach, then dive at high speed to grab a baby goat. This makes it one of the few predators that can completely bypass goat's terrain advantage, turning cliffs, normally a safe zone, into a death zone with a single, precise swoop. If eagles are the threat from above, then the leopard is the nightmare right on the goat's own turf. With a high stealth rating plus climb proficiency, leopards can approach undetected. Once they engage, their insane DPS combined with burst damage from a pounce is more than enough to delete an adult goat, which lacks the armor to soak hits. This makes them one of the rare predators capable of directly contesting goats on sheer cliffs. And finally, we have the universal counter to basically every animal build: humans. By unlocking ranged weapons plus herding tactics, humans downgrade goats from survivor tier to resource nodes. Not only can they easily eliminate goats in PvE combat, but they also straight up domesticated them, controlling their spawn rate and farming them endlessly for meat, milk, and wool. This is the main reason why goat struggles to ever reach apex tier. It's permanently hard countered by humans across the entire PvE meta. The current goat meta is relatively stable, but that doesn't mean this build is immune to nerfs. In the past, goat was one of the most reliable survivor tier builds of the mountain meta. Simply leaning on mobility plus adaptability was enough to keep a safe position in the food chain. But the balance has shifted. The once natural safe zones of the goat are now becoming increasingly harsh, forcing them to roam further in search of food, and in doing so, they often wander straight into a predator's sightline. This increased exposure makes goat a more predictable target. Familiar counters like leopards and eagles are thriving as a result, capitalizing on those moments when goat is forced to move more frequently. So, what kind of patch could save the goat? One potential buff would be improved diet flexibility, broadening their resource pool instead of relying so heavily on sparse vegetation. Another would be evolving herd tactics into more advanced cooperative defense, allowing goat to better counter predator packs and even resist human intrusion. For now, goat still stands as one of the most resilient builds in the mountain biome. But if the meta keeps shifting, they'll still need an update to avoid getting out of the game. Goat doesn't boast high DPS, stealth mechanics, or heavy armor. What it does bring is insane mobility, durable adaptability, and herd cohesion strong enough to outplay most predators. But the big question remains: if goat is destined to remain only a survivor tier of the mountain meta, what build do you think truly deserves the title of Apex of the Highlands?